Hi friends, welcome back to the Before You Die channel. My name is Vipul and today we are going to start with a new playlist which is based on the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. Now Swami Vivekananda needs no introduction. He was a key figure in introduction of Indian philosophies of Vedanta and Yoga to the Western world. And he is credited in raising interfaith awareness and bringing Hinduism to the status of major world religion in the late 19th century. And perhaps he is best known for his speech that began with Sisters and Brothers of America, wherein he introduced Hinduism in Parliament of World's Religion in Chicago in 1893. And what a better way to start this playlist with that roaring speech. So without much ado, let's dive into the speech directly. Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable to rise in response to warm and cordial welcome which you have given us. I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. I thank you in the name of the mother of religions. And I thank you in the name of millions and millions of Hindu people of all classes and sects. My thanks also to some of the speakers on this platform who, referring to delegates from Orient, have told you that these men from faraway nation may well claim the honor of bearing of different lands the idea of toleration. I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only the universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugee of all religion and all nations of the earth. I am proud to tell you that we have gathered in our bosom the purest remnant of Israelites who came from southern India and took refuge with us in the very year which their holy temples were shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. I am proud to belong to a religion which has sheltered and is still fostering the remnant of grand Zoroastrian nation. I'll quote you, brethren, a few lines from Haman, which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is very day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams have their sources in different places, all mingle the water in the sea. So, O Lord, the different paths which men take through different tendencies, various thoughts, they appear, crooked and straight, all lead to thee. The present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, in it itself is a vindication, a declaration to the world, to the wonderful doctrine preached by Gita. Whomsoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I'll reach him. All men are struggling through path which in end lead to me. Sectarianism, bigotry, its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed the beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization and sent the whole nation to despair. Had it not been those horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it's now. But their time has come. And I fervently hope that all bell that tolled this morning in this honor on this convention may be death knell for all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword with the pen, and all the uncharitable feelings between persons wending their ways to the same goal. I will tell you a little story. You have heard the eloquent speaker who has just finished. Let us cease from abusing each other. And he was very sorry that there should be always so much variance. But I think I will tell you a story which will illustrate the cause of this variance. A frog lived in a well. It had lived there for a long time. It was born there and brought up there. And yet, little small frog, of course, the evolutionists were not there to tell us whether the frog lost his eye or not. But for our story's sake, we must take it for granted that it has its eyes. And that's every day cleansed with water of all forms and bacilli that lived in it, with an energy that would do credit to our modern bacteriologists. In a way, it went to and become little sleek and fat. Well, one day another frog that lived in the sea came and fell into that well. Where are you from? I am from the sea. The sea? How big is that? It is as big as my well. And he took a leaf from one side and well to the other side. My friend, said the frog of the sea, how do you compare sea with your little well? Then the frog looked another leap and asked, is your sea so big? What nonsense you speak, to compare the sea with your well. Well, said the frog to a well, nothing can be bigger than my well. There can be nothing bigger than this. This fellow is liar, so turn him out. That has been the difficulty all the while. I am a Hindu. I am sitting in my own little well, thinking that whole world is my little well. The Christian sits in his little well and thinks the whole world in his well. The Mohammedan sits on his little well and thinks that's the whole world. I have to thank you, America, for the great attempt you are making to break down the barriers of little world of ours, and hope that in future the Lord will help you and accomplish your purpose. Three religions now stand in the world which have come down to us from time prehistoric: Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, and Judaism. They all have received tremendous shock, and all of them prove by their survival, their internal strength. But while Judaism failed to absorb Christianity and was driven out of place of birth by its all-conquering daughters, and handful of Parsis is all that remain to tell the tale of great religion. Sect after sect arose in India and seemed to shake the religion of the Vedas to its very foundations. But like the waters of seashore in a tremendous earthquake, it receded only for a while, only to return in an all-absorbing flood and 1,000 times more vigorous. And when the tumult of the rush was over, these sects were all sucked and absorbed and assimilated into immense body of Mother Faith. From the high spiritual flight of Vedanta philosophy, of which the latest discoveries of science seem like echoes in the low ideas of idolatry with its multifarious mythology, the agnosticism of Buddhists and atheism of Jains all have a place in the Hindu religion. When then the question arises, where is the common center to all these widely diverging radii? Convergence. What is common basis upon which all these seemingly hopeless contradictions rest? And all this question I shall attempt to answer. The Hindus have received their religion through revelation of Vedas. They hold that Vedas are without beginning and end. It may sound ludicrous to the audience how a book can be without beginning or an end. But by Vedas no book are meant. They meant the accumulated treasury of spiritual laws, discovered by different persons in different times. Just as the law of gravitation existed before its discovery and would exist if humanity forgot it, so it is with the laws that govern the spiritual world, the moral, ethical, and spiritual relations between soul and soul, between individual spirits and the Father of all spirits, were there before in discovery and would remain even if we forgot them. The discoveries of these laws are called rishis, and we honor them as perfect beings. I'm glad to tell you, the audience, that some of the very greatest of them were women. Here it may have said that these laws, as laws, may be without end, but they must have a beginning. The Vedas teach us creation is without beginning or end. Science is said to have proved that sum of total cosmic energy is always the same. Then if there was a time when nothing existed, where was all this manifested energy? Some say it was in potential form of God. In this case, God is sometimes potential and sometimes kinetic, which would make him mutable. Everything mutable is compound, and everything compound must undergo that change, which is called destruction. So, God would die, which is absurd. Therefore, there never was a time when there was no creation. If I may be allowed to use a smile, creation and creator are two lines, without beginning and without end, running parallel to each other. God is ever active, provided by whose power systems, after systems are being evolved out of chaos, made to run for a time and again destroyed. This is what Brahmin boy repeats every day. The sun and the moon, and the Lord created like the sun and moon of previous cycles. And this agrees with modern science. Here I stand, I shut my eyes and try to conceive my existing I. What is the idea before me? The idea of body. Am I then nothing but a combination of material substance? The Vedas declare, no, I am a spirit. Living in a body, I am not a body. The body will die, but I shall not die. Here am I in this body, it will fail, but I shall go on living. I had also a past, the soul was not created, for creation means a combination, which means certain future dissolutions. If then the soul was created, it must die. Some are born happy, enjoy perfect health, with beautiful body, mental vigor, and wants supplies. Others are born miserable, some are without hands or feet, others are idiots and only drag on wretched existence. Why, if they are created, why does just a merciful God create one happy and another unhappy? Why is he so partial? Nor would it mend matters in least to hold that those are miserable in this life would be happy in the future one. Why should a man be miserable, even if here in this reign of just a merciful God? In the second place, the idea of created God does not explain the anomaly and simply express the cruel flat in all-powering being. There must have been cause then before his birth to make man miserable or unhappy, and those were past actions. Are not all the tendency in the mind and body accounted for by inherited aptitude? There are two parallel lines of existence, one of the mind, the other of matter. If matter and transformation answer are all that we have, there is no necessity for supposing the existence of soul. But it cannot be proved that though it has been evolved out of matter, and if philosophically monism is inevitable, spiritual monism is certainly logical and no less desirable than a materialistic monism. But neither of these is necessary here. We cannot deny that bodies acquire certain tendencies from hereditary, but those tendencies only mean the physical configuration, through which a peculiar mind alone can act in a peculiar way. There are other tendencies peculiar to soul caused by its past action, and a soul caused a certain tendency would by the laws of affinity takes birth in a body, which is fittest instrument for the display of that tendency. This is in accord with the science, for science wants to explain everything by habit, and habit is got through repetitions. So repetitions are necessary to explain the natural habit of newborn soul. And since they were not obtained in this present life, they must have come down from past lives. There's another suggestion. Talking all this for granted, how is it I do not remember anything of my past life? This can be easily explained. I am now speaking English. It's not my mother tongue. In fact, no word of my mother tongue are now present in my consciousness. But let me try to bring up and then the Russian. That shows that consciousness only is surface of the mental ocean. And with this depth are stored up in our experiences, try and struggle. They would come up and you would be conscious even if in your past life. This is direct and demonstrative evidence. Verification is perfect proof of a theory. And hence the challenge thrown to the world by rishis. We have discovered the secret by which very depth of ocean of memory can be stirred up. Try it and you will get a complete remnants of your past life. So then the Hindu believes that he is a spirit. Him the sword cannot pierce. Him the fire cannot burn. Him the water cannot melt. Him the air cannot dry. The Hindu believes that every soul is a circle whose circumference is nowhere, but those whose center is located in the body, and that means change of the center from body to body. Nor is soul bound by the condition of matter, its very essence, it's free, unbounded, holy, pure, and perfect. But somehow or the other, it finds itself tied down to the matter and thinks of itself as a matter. Why should the free, perfect, and pure being be thus just under thalrum of matter? Is next question. How can perfect soul be delanded into belief that it is imperfect? We have been told that Hindus shirk in the question and say no such question can be there. Some thinkers want to answer it by proposing one of the most quasi-perfect being and being's scientific names to fill up the gap. But no naming is not explaining. The question remains the same. How can perfect become quasi-perfect? And how can pure, absolute change even if a microscopic particle of its nature? The absolute change even if a microscopic particle is nature. But the Hindu is sincere. He does not want to take shelter under sophistry. He is brave enough to face question in manly fashion. And his answer is, I do not know. I do not know how the perfect being, the soul came to think that itself is imperfect and joined to and conditioned by matter. But the fact for all this, it is fact in everybody's consciousness that one thinks of oneself as body. The Hindu does not attempt to explain why one thinks one as a body. The answer to that is the will of God is no explanation. This is nothing more than what Hindu says, I do not know. Well, then human soul is eternal and immortal, perfect and infinite, and death means only a change of center from one body to another. The present is determined by past action and the future by present. The soul will go on evolving up or reverting back from birth to birth and death to death. But here is another question. Is man a tiny bot in tempest, raised one moment on foamy crest of the billow and dashed into a yawning chasm in the next, rolling to and fro to the mercy of God of bad actions, powerless, helpless, wrecked in ever-raging, ever-rushing, uncompromising current of cause and effect, a little mouth placed under a wheel of causation which rolls in crushing everything on its way, and the weight is for widow's tear or orphan cry. The heart sinks at the idea, yet this is law of nature. Is there no hope? Is there no escape? Was the cry went upon from the bottom of the heart and despair. It reached that stone of mercy and word of hopes and consolation came down to inspired by Vedic stage. As he stood up before the fire and his triumph voice proclaimed his glad tidings, hear ye children of immortal bliss, even ye reside in higher spheres. I have found that ancient one who is beyond all the darkness, all delusion, knowing him alone shall save from death all over again. Children of immortal bliss, what a sweet, what a hopeful name. Allow me to call you brethren. By that sweet name, here's an immortal bliss. Yeah, the Hindu refuses to call you sinners. You are children of God and sharer of immortal bliss. Holy and perfect beings. Yet divinities on earth, sinners. It's a sin to call a man so. It's a standing libel on human nature. Come up, all lions, and shake off the delusion that is, you are sheep, you are souls, immortal, spirit-free, blessed, eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies. Matter is not your servant, not your servant of matter. Thus, it's all that Vedas proclaim, not a dreadful combination of unforgiving laws, and not an endless prison of cause and effect, but that's at the head of all these laws, and its through every practice of matter and force, stands one by whose command the wind blows, the fire burns, the cloud rains, and death stalks upon the earth. And what is his nature? He is everywhere, the pure and the formless, one the Almighty and all merciful. Thou art our Father, thou art our Mother, thou art our beloved friend, thou art the source of all strength, given us strength, thou art, he has buried and burdens of universe, help me bear the little burdens of his life. Thus sang the rishis of the Vedas, and how to worship him through love. He is to be worshipped as one of the most beloved, dearer, and than everything in this and next life. This is doctrine of love declared in the Vedas, and let's see how fully developed and taught by Krishna, whom Hindus believe to have been God incarnate in earth. He taught that man is ought to live in this world like a lotus leaf, which grows in water but never moistened by water. So man is ought to live in this world, his heart to God and his hands to work. It is good to love God for hope of reward in this or next world, but it's better to love God for love's sake. And the prayer goes, Lord, I do not want wealth, nor children, nor learning. It will be thy will I shall go from birth to birth. Grant me this, and I may love without hope and reward. Love unselfishly for love's sakes. One of the disciples of Krishna, the then Emperor of India, was driven from the kingdom by the enemies and had to take shelter with the queen in the forest in the Himalayas. And there one day the queen asked him how it was that the most virtuous of men should suffer so much misery. Yudhishthira answered, Behold, my queen, the Himalayas now grand and beautiful they are. I love them. They do not give me anything, but my nature is to love the grand and beautiful. Therefore I love them. Similarly, I love the Lord. He is the source of all beauty and all sublimity. He is only object to be loved. My nature is to love him, and therefore I love. I do not pray for anything. I do not ask for anything. Let him place me wherever he likes. I must love him for love's sake. I cannot trade in love. The Vedas teach that soul is divine and only held with the bondage of matter. Perfection will be reached when the bond will burst, and when the world they use it for therefore mukti, freedom, freedom from bonds of imperfection and freedom from death and misery. And this bondage can only fall through the mercy of God, and this mercy comes on the pure. So purity is the condition of his mercy. How does that mercy act? He reveals himself to the pure heart, and pure and the stainless see God. Yeah, even in this life, Diya, and then only all the crookedness of the heart is made straight. Then all doubt ceases. He is no more freak of a terrible law of causation. This is very center and very vital conception of Hinduism. The Hindus do not want to live upon words and theories. If there are existence beyond the ordinary senseless existence, he wants to come face to face with them. If there is a soul in them which is not matter, if there is all merciful universe soul, he will go to him direct. He must see him, and alone can destroy the doubts. So the best proof of Hindu sage given about soul, about the God, I have seen the soul, I have seen the God, and that is the only condition of all perfections. The Hindu religions does not consist in struggle and attempt in belief a certain doctrine or dogma, but in realizing, not in believing, but in being and becoming. Thus the whole object of the system is constant struggle to become perfect, to become divine, to reach God and see God, and this reaching God, seeing God, becoming perfect, even in the Father of heavens imperfect, constitutes the religion of the Hindus. And what becomes of man when he attains perfection? He lives a life of bliss infinite. He enjoys infinite and perfect bliss, having obtained the only thing in which man sought to have pleasure, namely God. Enjoy the bliss with God. So for all the Hindus are agreed, there is a common religion of all the sects of India, but then perfection is absolute. And the absolute cannot be two or three. It cannot be any qualities. It cannot be any individuals. And So when a soul becomes perfect and absolute, must become one with Brahman. And it would only realize Lord as a perfection, the reality of its own nature and existence. Existence absolute, knowledge absolute, and bliss absolute. We have often read this, the losing of individuality and becoming a stock or a stone. He just as scars that never felt a wound. I will tell you that nothing of that count in this. If this is happiness to enjoy consciousness of small body, it is must be greater than happiness to enjoy consciousness of two bodies. The measure of happiness increasing with the consciousness of an increasing number of bodies. The aim, the ultimate of happiness being reached when it would become universal consciousness. Therefore, to gain infinite universe individuality, this miserable life, present individuality must go. Then alone can death cease. When I am one with life, then alone can misery cease. When I am one with happiness itself, alone can error cease. When I am one with knowledge itself, there is a necessary scientific conclusion. Science has proved to me physically individuality is a delusion. And really my body is little continuously changing body in an unbroken ocean of matter and Advaita, unity, in the necessary conclusion with my other counterpart, soul. Science is nothing but finding of unity. As soon as science would reach perfect unity, it would stop from further progress because it would reach the goal. Thus, chemistry could not progress further than it would have discovered one element out of which all of other could be made. Physics would stop when it would be able to fulfill its services in discovering one energy which all the others are built manifestations. And science of religion become perfect when it would discover him who is one life in universe of death, him who is constant, basis on ever-changing world, one who has only one soul, of what all souls but delusive manifestations. Thus, it is through multiplicity and duality that ultimate unity is reached. Religions can go no farther. This is the goal of all the science. All science is bound to come to this conclusion in the long run. Manifestation are not creation is a world of science today. And Hindu is only glad that what he is being cherishing in his bosom for ages is going to be taught in more forgivable language and with further light to the latest conclusion of science. Descendants we now from aspirations of philosophy in the religion of the ignorant. At the very outset, it may tell you that there is no polytheism in India. In every temple, it only stands by listens on one by with worshipper, applying the attributes of God, including omnipresence to the images. It is not polytheism, nor would the nature henotheism explain the situation. The rose called by any other name would smell as sweet. Names are not explanations. I remember as a boy hearing a Christian missionary preach to a crowd in India. Among other sweet things, he was telling them that was it gave to a blow to their idol with his sticks, what can you do? One of the hearers sharply answered, if I abuse a god, what can he do? You should be punished, said the preacher, when you die. So my idol will punish you when you will die, retorted the Hindu. The tree is known by its fruits. When I have seen amongst them, they are called idolaters. Men, the like of whom the immorality and spirituality love, I have never seen anywhere. I stop and ask myself, can sin beget holiness? Superstition is a great enemy, but bigotry is worse. Why does Christian go to church? Why is cross holy? Why is a face turned towards the sky in prayer? Why are there many images in the Catholic Church? Why are there so many images in mind of Protestant? Why then they pray? Why brethren? Why can no more think about everything about mental image than we can live without breathing? By laws of association, the materialistic image calls upon the mental idea and vice versa. This is why the Hindu uses external symbols when he worships. He will tell you it helps to keep his mind fixed on the being to whom he prays. He knows as well you do the image of God is not omnipresent. After all, how much does omnipresence mean to almost the world? It stands merely as a word, as a symbol. Has got superficial area? If not, we will repeat the word omnipresent. We think of that extended sky or the space, that's all. As we find that somehow or other by laws of our mental constitution, we have associated our ideas of infinity with the image of blue sky or the sea. So we naturally connect our ideas of holiness with the image of church, a mosque, a cross. Hindus have associated the ideas of holiness, purity, truth, omnipresence, and such ideas with different images and forms. But with this difference, while some people devote their whole lives to the ideals in the church and never rise higher, because of them religion means intellectual assent to certain doctrines and doing good to their fellows, then the whole religion of the Hindus is centered in realization. Man is to become divine by realizing the divine. Idols of temples or churches or books are only supporters, the help of his spiritual childhood, but on he must progress. He must not stop anywhere. External worship, material worship, says scriptures. And the lowest stage struggling to rise high. Mental prayer in the next stage, but the highest stage is when Lord has been realized. Mark some earnest man who was kneeling before idols, tell him the sun cannot express, nor the moon, nor the stars. The lightning cannot express him, what could we speak as fire? Though him they shine. But he does not abuse any one of those idols or call worship sin. He recognizes that it is a necessary stage in life. The child is father of man. Would it be right for an old man to say that the childhood is a sin or youth is a sin? If a man can realize that his divine nature with the help of an image, would it be right to call him a sin? Nor even when he has passed that stage. Should he call it an error to that Hindu man is not traveling from error of truth, but from truth to truth, from lower to higher truth? To him, the all religions in the lowest fetishism to the highest absolutism means so manly attempts of all human soul to grasp and realize infinite and each determined by conditions of his birth and associations, and each of these mark the stage of progress. And every soul is a young eagle soaring high and higher, gathering more and more strength until it reaches glory's sun. Unity and variety is the plan of nature, and Hindu has recognized it. Every other religion lays down center fixed dogmas and tries to force society to adopt them. It places before society only one coat which must fit Jack and John and Henry. All like, if it does not fit John or Henry, he must go without coat or cover the body. The Hindus have discovered that the absolute can only be realized or thought or stated through the relative or images crosses. Crescent are simply the many symbols, so many pegs to hang in the spiritual ideas on. It is not that this help is necessary for everyone, but those who do not need it might not be right to say if it's wrong, nor is compulsory in Hinduism. One thing I must tell you, idolatry in India does not mean anything horrible. It is not the mother of horrors. On the other hand, it's an attempt to underdevelop mind to grasp higher spiritual truths. The Hindus have their faults, they sometimes have exceptions, but mark this. They are always for punishing for their own bodies, and they never for cutting for the throats of neighbors. If a Hindu fanatic burns himself on the pyre, he never lights a fire on inquisition, and even he cannot be laid on the door of religion more than any burning of witches can be laid at the door of Christianity. To the Hindu, then the whole world of religion is only traveling and coming up different men and women through various conditions and circumstances to the same goal. Every religion is only evolving a God out of the materialist man, and same God is the inspirer to all of them. Why then there are so many contradictions? They are not apparent, say Hindu. The contradiction comes from the same truth adapting itself to various circumstances of different natures. It is the same light coming through glasses of different colors, and thus these little violations are necessary for purpose of adaptation. But in the heart of everything, the same truth reigns. The Lord has declared to the Hindus in his incarnation as Krishna, "I am in every religion and the thread through a string of pearls." Whether those sees extraordinary holiness and extraordinary power raising and purifying humanity. Know thou that I am there. And what has been the result? I challenge the world to find throughout the whole system in Sanskrit philosophy and any expression as that Hindu alone would be saved and not others save Vyasa. We find perfect men even beyond the pale of our caste and creed. One thing more, how then can the Hindus whose fabric of thought is centered in God believe in Buddhism, which is agonistic, or in Jainism, which is atheistic? The Buddhism or Jains do not depend upon God, but as the whole world in this religion is directed by the great central truth of every religion, to evolve a God out of man. They have not seen the Father, but they have seen the Son, and he had seen the Son, has seen the Father also. This, brethren, in the short sketches of religious ideas of Hindus, the Hindus may have failed to carry out all his plans, but all there as ever is universal religion. It must have been one which will have no location, place, or time, which will be infinite like God. It will be preached and whose sun will shine upon the followers of Krishna and the Christ and of saint or saint alike, which will not be Brahmanic, Buddhistic, Christianic, Mohammedan, but the sum total of all these, and still have infinite space for development, in which Catholicism will embrace in infinite arms and find a place for every human being, from the lowest groveling savage to not from removed from the brute to highest man, towering by virtues of his head and heart almost above humanity, making society stand in awe in them. And doubt his human nature, it will be religion, it will be have no places, no persecution or intolerance in polity, which will recognize divinity, every man and every woman, whose whole scope, whole force will be created and aiding humanity to realize its own true divine nature. Offer such religion, all other nations will follow you. Ashoka councils was council of Buddhist faith. Akbar's though more of purpose was only parlor meeting. It was reserved for America to proclaim at all quarters of the globe that Lord is in every religion. May he, who is a Brahman of Hindus, the Asura Mazda of the Zoroastrian, the Buddha of the Buddhists, and Jehovah of Jews, Father in the heavens of Christians, give strength to you to carry out your noble ideas. The star rose in the east is traveled steadily towards the west, sometimes dim, sometimes engulfed, enfluent, till it's made circuit of the world, and now it's again rising on the very horizon of the east of the borders of the Sanpo, a thousandfold more effulgent than it ever was before. Hail Columbia, motherland of liberty! It has been to thee who never dipped her hand on her neighbor's blood, who never found out that shortest way of becoming rich was robbing one's neighbors. It has been given thee to march as a vanguard of civilization with the flag of harmony. Christians must always be ready for good criticism, and I hardly think that you will mind it if I make a little criticism. Your Christians who are so fond of sending out missionaries to save the soul of the heathen, why do you not try to save their bodies from starvation? In India, during the terrible famines, thousands died from hunger, yet you Christians did nothing. You erect churches all through India, but crying evil in the East is not religion. They have religion enough, but it's bread that is suffering. Millions of burning India cry out with parched throats. They ask us for bread, but we give them stones. It is an insult to a starving people to offer them religion. It's an insult to a starving man to teach him metaphysics. In India, a priest that preached for money would lose caste and be spat upon by people. I came here to seek aid for my impoverished people, and I fully realize how difficult it is to get help from heathens from Christian in a Christian land. I am not a Buddhist, as you have heard, and yet I am. If China or Japan or Ceylon, following the teaching of the great master, India worships him as God incarnate on earth. You have just now heard that I am going to criticize Buddhism. But by that I wish you understand only this: far be from me to criticize him who is worshipping a God incarnate on earth. But our views about Buddha are that he was not understood properly by his disciples, and relation between Hinduism I mean the religion of Vedas, and what is called Buddhism at present day is nearly the same as between Judaism and Christianity. Jesus Christ was a Jew and Shakyamuni was Hindu. The Jew rejected Jesus Christ, nay crucified him, and the Hindus have accepted Shakyamuni as God and worshipped him. But the real difference that we Hindus want to show between modern Buddhism and what we should understand as teaching of Lord Buddha lies principally in this: Shakyamuni came to preach nothing new. He also, like Jesus, came to fulfill, not destroy. Only in the case of Jesus, it was old people, the Jews, who did not understand him, while in the case of Buddha, it was his own followers who did not realize that the importance of his teachings, as the Jews did not understand the fulfillment of Old Testament. So the Buddhists did not understand the fulfillment of truth of Hindu's religion. Again, I repeat, Shakyamuni came not to destroy, but he was the fulfillment of logical conclusion, the logical development of religion of Hindus. The religion of Hindus is divided into two parts: the ceremonial and the spiritual. The spiritual portion is specially studied by monks. In that there is no caste. A man from highest caste and man from the lowest may become monks in India, and two castes become equal. In religion there is no caste. Caste is simply a social institution. Shakyamuni himself was a monk, and he was his glory that he had that large heartedness to bring out the truth from hidden Vedas and through them broadcast all of them world. He was the first being in the world who brought missionarying into practice. Nay, he was the first to convince the idea of proselytizing. The great glory of Master lay in the wonderful sympathy for everybody, especially for the ignorant and the poor. Some of his disciples were Brahmins. When Buddha was teaching, Sanskrit was no more the spoken language in India. It was then only the books on learned. Some of the Buddha's Brahmin disciples wanted to translate his teaching into Sanskrit, but he distinctly told them, I am for the poor, for the people let me speak in the tongue of people. And so this day, the great bulk of his teaching are in vernacular of that day in India. Whatever may be the position of philosophy, whatever may be the position of metaphysics, so as long as there is a thing as death in this world, so as long as there is such thing as weakness in human heart, so long there is a cry going in the heart of man in his very weakness, there shall be faith in God. On the philosophical side of the disciple of the great master dashed themselves against eternal rocks of the Vedas and could not crush him. And on the other side, they took away from the nation that eternal God, which is everyone, man or woman, clings to so fondly. And the result was Buddhism had to die a natural death in India. At the present day, there is no one who calls oneself a Buddhist in India, the land of its birth. But at the same time, Brahmanism lost something: the reforming zeal, the wonderful sympathy and charity for everybody. That wonderful heaven with Buddhism has taught to the masses and has rendered Indian society to Greek historians who wrote about India of their time was led to say that no Hindu was known to tell untruth and no Hindu woman was known to be unchaste. Hinduism cannot live without Buddhism, nor Buddhism without Hinduism. Then realize what the separation has shown to us, that Buddhas cannot stand without the brain and philosophy of Brahmins, nor Brahmins without the heart of Buddhists. This separation between Buddhism and Brahmins is the cause of downfall of India. That is why India is populated by 300 millions of beggars, and that is why India has been slave of conquerors in the last 1,000 years. Let us join the wonderful intellect of the Brahmins with the heart of noble soul of wonderful humanizing power of the great master. The world's parliament of religion has become accomplished fact, and the merciful Father has helped those labored to bring into existence, and crowned with success of most unselfish labor. Many thanks to those noble souls whose large heart and love of truth first dreamed this wonderful dream and then realized it. Many thanks to the shower of liberals sentiment that has overshadowed this platform. My thanks to this enlightenment audience for the uniform kindness to me and their appreciation of every thought that tends to smooth the friction of religion. A few jarring notes were heard from time to time in this harmony. My special thanks to them, for they have been striking contrast, made general harmony the sweeter. Much has been said of the common ground of religious unity. I am not going to just now to venture my own theory, but if anyone of here hopes that this unity will come by triumph of any one of the religion, that the destruction of the others, to him I say, brother, yours is an impossible hope. Do I wish that Christian would become Hindu? God forbid. Do I wish Hindus or Buddhists would become Christian? God forbid. The seed is put in the ground, and the earth and air and water are placed around it. Does the seed become the earth, or the earth, air, or water? No. It becomes a plant. It develops after its laws of its own growth, assimilates the air, the earth, the water, converts them into plant substance, and grows into plant. Similar, in the case of religion, the Christian is not to become Hindu, or a Buddhist not a Hindu, or a Buddhist not to become a Christian, but each must assimilate the spirit of the others and yet preserve this individuality and growing according to his own law of growth. In the Parliament of Religions has shown anything to the world, it has proved to the world that holiness, purity, and charity are not the exclusive possession of any church in the world. And very system has produced men and women of the most exalted character in the face of evidence. If anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and destruction of the others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him upon the banner of every religion will soon be written in spite of resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension.